Hello and welcome everyone to another Northgard video on this channel. I'm the Crazy Dentist and I want to tell you today everything you need to know about this new Snake Clan update. So to get a few misunderstandings right off the start out of the way, you will still be able to play Northgard normally in multiplayer. The only thing you won't be able to play without paying for the DLC is the Snake Clan. So most of the changes in this update will be interesting to you, even if you don't plan to buy the Snake Clan, even though it is a quite interesting clan, but I'm gonna get into that later. Since we have the first misunderstanding out of the way, let's start with the general changes. The revenue of ruins got changed, so it doesn't matter anymore how far the ruin is away from you personally, it will just matter how far it is away from your team. That means that most of the bonuses in team games will be non-existent anymore. You will only get a bonus when the ruin is really far away from your team. And I don't know if that is also working for shipwrecks. Maybe you will get still the full bonus from them, but ruins actually got scaled down. It will be much worse to trade right now, and it can even be way better to now go yourself for it. Jogger, Valkyrs and Kobolds got a slight HP buff. I don't know how much that actually were, but this is the case. And the AI has now better military micromanagement, so they will, for example, pull shield bearers in front of them to run into towers and do other stuff that normal player would do. It is not longer possible to destroy buildings that aren't tiles that just get attacked. It is not longer possible to destroy a building that is just getting attacked by military units. So no more destroying the tower in the last second, so you will really do it before the military units actually attack you. That is quite of a change. Definitely gonna change my gameplay a little bit, because you will now really be on the drain. When you get attacked, you need to decide before if you're gonna need that buildings, if you're gonna lose that tile, and maybe destroy the buildings even before if you want to get the wood out of it. And the attacking player will have a way better chance to actually destroy a few buildings with this attack. War chiefs no longer consume food anymore, and they will not take a population slot anymore. I think that's a change that actually needed to happen, so Signy doesn't work too much as a break for the Snake Clan, so it actually goes further. But in general, I don't think that's a bad idea, because I always thought like, okay, why need that to happen? The war chief is just stopping me quite a bit. But now you can actually pop out the war chief for most of the clans. You don't need to think about the food you will consume anymore, and just have a quite cheap clearing unit that you can heal up afterwards. There's no cooldown anymore when you are slaughtering sheep. So for me that's actually super cool, because now the sheep killing can get even more effective, and I think you can only like that. You can now press X to cancel anything a villager is just doing. So if you have a villager just taken and he runs to, for example, just building something, and you change your mind, you can just press the X button. The villager will stop doing what he's just doing and stop at the moment where he's just standing, and most likely start grabbing food if there's a house or anything on that tile, and if not, he will just stand around. There's now an option in the chat where you can mute other channels or even other players. Just right now it doesn't affect pings, but that will come into it, and I think that's a great change. If you have somebody in the game who is quite toxic, you can now mute him out and don't need to read his stuff anymore. Every villager now has his own name. Yeah, that doesn't sound like all too important of a change, but I actually think it's quite cool, because it makes it all a little bit more personal in your little village there, and I like it a lot. The profile tab now shows players' progression about the progression in campaign mode, and I think that's quite cool. Now you know a little bit more about your community members there, and and the berserkers and Signy's abilities are now shown in their description windows, so you can see it a little bit better and check it out there. I think that's a quite cool change, makes it a little bit more viewable for me what they actually can, and maybe makes it even a little bit easier for later implementations. I don't know, but it seems like it. For example, balanced maps are now available for 2v2v2v2s, so that where we all obviously were waiting for. And also a player that weren't able to connect to a game won't lose any rank points anymore, and I think that's quite cool, right? Not having to lose the points anymore for a disconnected match. Although in the lobby, when the timer has already started, player cannot change their teams anymore, and I think that already sorts out a few dig moves that you can actually turn there, and quite cool change. Now that we got the boring general stuff out of the way, let's get into the interesting stuff. The Skirmisher, the new unit that will be available for everyone that already had Northgard before, so you don't need to buy the DLC for it. It will be available for every clan, and it is a quite cool new unit that just got implemented into Northgard. Skirmishers are a special unit that will have lower armor than most of the other units, so in a 1v1 against axe throwers, warriors and shield bearers it will lose. But it has some special abilities that makes it stand out of the other military units. It has lower armor, it has 10 attack, so it is just as strong as a warrior. It has plus 20% movement speed, so it is actually one of the faster units in Northgard, and you could think about some kiting options there. And the most important thing for them is of course that they can just run through neutral tiles without getting attacked by any monsters. No dragons, no wolves will attack them. So with the Skirmisher you decide when you want to attack them. So when you right click a wolf you can of course attack him and kill him, but you don't need to if you don't want to, and you can actually just run straight through the tiles to your enemy if you want. You gotta keep in mind that the Skirmisher is not the strongest unit you can get, but the movement speed and the ability to run through neutral tiles really makes the difference here, because you can actually harass your enemy player before he actually thinks you could do it, while you still need to scout him of course. But for example with the Raven clan I could think of a few ways to actually harass an enemy player quite early with them. The Skirmishers will be built in a new building that is also available for all clans now of course, and it is the Skirmisher camp. It's a quite nice looking building. If you didn't saw it you can just jump into Northgard and check it out, since everyone who got the game already can play the Skirmishers and have fun with them. They are now the cheapest unit of Northgard, so I think they will start at 15 gold, if I'm not mistaken. And even though they usually don't have a chance against the other military units, they will still make quite a change in Northgard, I think. If you upgrade them, they will get plus 20% better damage and a poison ability. With that they can poison enemy military units and villagers. I'm quite sure that it is a damage over time effect, so you just attack another unit and it will slowly get some damage after you attacked her. But I wouldn't really say that it's all too OP or all too strong. I thought it worked quite okay when I tested it against the villager, but it's not all too much of a change honestly. The Snake clan will have a quite special relationship with the Skirmishers, so let's not wait too long and just jump right into the Snake clan. Yeah, the Snake clan, this new Snake clan in Northgard. The new clan that will actually cost you around $5 if you want to play him. But I personally would actually say I think it's worth it, because it definitely brings a completely new playstyle into Northgard now. I just want to explain it right now. The first and most important thing about the Snake clan to say would actually be, in my opinion, that it doesn't has any fame. So you always will have 0 fame whatever you do. You can go for the middle and build houses, upgrade stuff. You won't get any fame and you won't get the ability to get for the fame win. So this is basically a dead path for you. I think that's quite cool, since in general the Snake clan seems to be a quite roguish clan and it seems to hit the theme. Also the Snake clan will be the only clan that starts with his war chief, but you don't need to get the pitchforks out, it will be not all too overpowered, since Signy will start at the power of maybe a warrior. I think you can compare her to a warrior in the first year, and then get stronger and stronger year by year, so you can use her a little bit better, but it won't give the Snake clan that much of an edge in the early clearing. So at the first year you will have Signy at the power roughly at a warrior, maybe a little bit better, since I think she will have actually a little bit more resistance, but you can compare her to a warrior there. At the second year she will get 20% movement speed and ranged attack, what makes her way stronger. Also she will get stronger every year, and so every year get a little bit more attack damage. I think in the second year she will actually get the biggest boost in HP, and in the third year you will be able to use a special ability, and she will behave like a skirmisher on neutral tiles, so she won't get attacked from any units anymore. Also, you won't need to pay any iron if you want to revive her, so if you happen to lose her, it will only cost 150 gold in your local war camp to revive her. No iron needed, so all your iron can actually put into upgrading jobs, or better, upgrading any military units. Signy's special ability, Scorched Earth, can be used after 5 seconds, so it will have 5 seconds of channel time, and Signy will need to run in the center of a tile there. It will be a little bit of testing around until you will actually pop it off the first time, since it is not perfect to do it in a battle. Usually it's better when you are just attacking a tile, you're already standing on it and you want to give yourself an edge on it, so you use the effect there. So if you use Scorched Earth on a tile, you will actually get plus 40% attack power on it, and your opponent will get minus 15% production on it. So it can be quite useful. It will last for 3 months. It has a cooldown of 3 months, even though that I don't think that you will use it every 3 months. Just too hard to actually make that happen, but it is a quite strong effect if you can make use of it. If the effect is cancelled, Signy will get a 1 month cooldown, even though that I don't think that damage actually cancelled it out. It really needs to be you that cancel it. Going into the lores of the Snake Clan, and at first we actually have Black Market that will replace coinage in the lore tree. It will let your merchants produce plus 10% crowns. You will get a 75% bonus on trading with enemy players that you have bad relationships with, so every other clan couldn't even trade with them, but you will get a little bit of a bonus there, and I think in the end it will most likely be around a 25% bonus, since your trading will be worse by 50% since you have bad relationships to the clan. Also very important to say there is that the enemy clan won't receive any resources you trade to them, what I think is quite important to say there. A little bit later in that tree we have Rapacious Exploitation that will give you 2 happiness for every shipwreck, ruin or whatever is in your tile. And also the bonuses of special tiles like Thor's Wrath or Geyser will be doubled for you. So this is quite a nice thing to get a little bit of happiness if you were actually a little bit lucky with your start generation. Under Pressure will actually replace Weaponsmiths, so you won't get plus 20% on all of the units, you will only get them for skirmishers. But therefore you will get plus 2 happiness and plus 2 food production for every tile that you pressure an enemy. So if you have a skirmisher right in front of your enemy base, it doesn't have to be a skirmisher even, it can be a warrior, but it will most likely be skirmishers since you will be able to run through neutral tiles with them, and you position them in front of a tile of an enemy, you will get the plus 2 happiness and plus 2 food production. So in general you will have a skirmisher at the front that works like a brewer that also produces plus 2 food. I think that's a really strong happiness generator in a team game. In 1v1s it could be a little bit weak, but I think in team games actually it will be super strong, and I yesterday actually got my 6 happiness and 6 food production in 3v3, what really helped out. Going to Guerrilla, it will replace a military strategy in the tree, and it will give you plus 2% more damage on all military units for every villager that you kill. So for the understanding, that will not be like a promotion for the units that you have right now, and when you lose them it will be gone. It will be really like a general buff for all your military units that you can't lose. Even when you gotta keep in mind that you won't have weaponsmiths, so in general your military units will be 20% weaker than the other units, but you can in the end actually get 60% bonus on your skirmishers with Under Pressure and this bonus. But also get 40% on your warriors, that would usually just be 20% with Weaponsmith, but you just gotta see it in line with Weaponsmith, since you just won't get it, and yeah, gotta keep that in mind. The last lore in the upper tree, so the special lore that most of the clans actually have there, will be stolen lore, so you will be able to steal a lore from every other clan you want to. And I would actually say that most of the interesting stuff will happen with Field Rations, Industrious and Legacy. I don't want to play down the effects of the other clans, but they just don't seem like they could carry a game like the other ones of them could. And I think there will be quite a few interesting strategies that you can go for with the Snake Clan now that you can steal the lore of other clans. And I think it only strengthens the picture of the Snake Clan to make it a really roguish clan. And there will be a video going a little bit deeper into the Snake Clan, but it would be nice to know what you think about the Snake Clan right now. Do you think it is worth the money right now? Or will you just go around it and not buy the snake clan and just play with the other clans a little bit and have fun with the skirmishers? So I think the most important things are said about the snake clan. Now let's now jump into the last little bit of clan balancing and changes to the victory. Let's start out with the general lore modifications. Recruitment now gives you a 25% bonus instead of the 30% that you had before. However, when you lose a military unit or a villager 6 months after that, it will actually increase to 50% now, so this is quite interesting. The sharp access bonus has been increased to 20%. The defensive strategy bonus has been increased to 30%, so even stronger villagers. And the monster slayer bonus has been increased to 50% to make it a little bit more useful, because I think players just didn't went enough for it. Negotiation bonus has been increased to 50%. And legendary heroes now gives you 25% attack bonus and 25% of a defense bonus instead of a 50% attack bonus. What I think actually is a little bit better, since you can use then the war chief a little bit better as a shield bearer, what I tend to use quite a bit, what you may know. Going into the Wolf clan changes, it was actually the clan that got changed the most with the last patch. The 200 and your 500 fame mark got actually changed. So at 200 fame you will already be able to get tiles with your berserker with Dominion, and at 500 fame you will now get the 15% attack bonus outside of your territory. So from Wolf players like Falls, I know that they enjoy it quite a bit to now have the Dominion at 200. I wouldn't say that it's all too OP, since the change were quite fitting. You don't get the 15% bonus anymore for the attack. That makes the Wolf a little bit less frightening at the start of the game, and just gives him a little bit better of an opportunity to expand his lands, since he doesn't have too good of a food economy, of course. Also, there were an animation added to when you use the minions, so it makes it looks a little bit nicer, and that is of course always great. The field ration bonus has been increased to 80%. That's crazy. Let's see how that works out. The plunder healing has been reduced to 30%, and I don't think that it were actually all too overpowered before. I can imagine that there were actually some games where players could exploit that quite a bit and just run through the enemy tiles, take the outer tiles and just heal their whole army up after fights. But in general, I wouldn't say that we're actually all too overpowered, even though it got now a little bit less strong. So if players actually got frustrated through that lore, it will now get a little bit lower. And at last, the Veiled Threats bonus has actually been increased to 75%. And if I'm not mistaken, that must mean that the Wolf clan is actually now the strongest clan when it comes to trading gold to Jotnar. That's quite crazy, but interesting. And Winter Festival now grants 50% reducement of food consumption in the winter and +3 happiness than the +2 before. The Clan of the Stack will get +2 gold for every skulls through Value of Great Deeds now, and Eradication will also reduce the upgrade cost for silos by 50%. The Clan of the Raven got a little nerf there. It weren't all too much, you don't need to panic. Just the maximum happiness you could get out of the Great Explorer has been reduced from 8 happiness down to 6 happiness. So they were not all too much, just your second strategy could be a little bit weaker if you don't happen to have any coast there. But I think it were actually a little bit too overpowered when you actually had your coast and you were able to just get that in addition, and you had so much happiness going for you. So quite interesting balance changes here to the clans. It will be determined how that actually worked out in the meta, but I think we will see that. Now let's just jump right into the victory condition changes. So there were a little changes to the fame victory, sometimes a little bit bigger, sometimes a little bit smaller, but just let's start in with the fame win. At start, the food required to get additional tiles in the later stages of the game. So if you get your 10th, your 11th or your 12th tile, it will be way more expensive than you would know it from before. That will of course make it a little bit harder to win on fame, but I think that's a good thing, because I think that there were actually some places where you could get a little bit too fast to the fame. It could definitely challenge the lore win there, and I think it's a good thing to make it a little bit harder to achieve. Also, the number of tiles to achieve the fame win has been changed. So on small and medium maps you will now still need 12 tiles to win the game, and on large and huge maps you will now need 14 tiles to actually win the game, to make it a little bit harder on huge maps to make that happen, since yeah, in free-for-alls and games like that it were just way too fast and the enemies couldn't really reach you at that point. Going very quick over the lore victory, it got a little bit increased. It should be a little bit harder to actually achieve it. I didn't found it that much harder to actually get it. I think Liney said yesterday on my stream that they actually changed the base production of your villagers to achieve the win, since I'm very sure that the actual numbers to achieve the wisdom win didn't change. But this may be just a little bug right here, since I think just getting the requirements for the last few lores up is just a very logical change and would be quite cool to actually have that. There were some changes to the trade victory to actually make it a little bit more valuable to players to actually go for it. So when you reach 500 commercial influence, you will get 100 wood, 100 food and 50 lore. When you get to the 1000 commercial influence mark, you will get 150 wood, 150 food and 5 iron. When you get to the 1500 commercial influence mark, you will get 200 food, 200 wood and 20 stone. I would personally say that when I reach the 1.5k commercial influence mark, that I don't need any stone anymore. Like I'm close to winning. My eco is ready. So my money is definitely still on Yord's blessing, since you will get the 20 stone right in the moment when you will usually need it, and not in the late stages of the game where it will most likely be used to maybe upgrade some towers or just trade it away. But I think that gotta be determined by every player by himself, since there could actually be some strategies that get help from 20 stone just before the game ends, but I don't see too much of a use for that right now, while I'm definitely gonna try it out. Also, the Yggdrasil victory has been changed. You don't need to pay 2000 food anymore, there will be 1500 food, what is very important, since you just didn't have the food tiles sometimes. You would need at least 4 food tiles, I think, or word 3, I'm not too sure anymore. But you needed to have an exact amount of food tiles, or you weren't even able to get the win right now. Now I think you should be able to get it with 2 food tiles, what is quite normal, so you will most of the games actually be able to go for Yggdrasil, and the colonization will now take 6 months and not 9 months anymore, so that is quite a little bit of a help for you too. Also, the Gates of Helheim victory got changed to only need 8 months now, so not 12 months anymore. It makes it a little bit easier to achieve, and I think that's actually very needed, since the Gates of Helheim victory is still very hard to achieve. This were my little Snake Clan update patch notes video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please write down in the comments what changes you will enjoy, what changes you will not enjoy, and if you will be playing the Snake Clan or using the skirmishers. I see you back in the next video, and yeah, thanks for watching and bye bye!